Hey, folks, everything new under the sun. How do we know when the Lord will return? When the wrath of God, when that will come upon the earth? Well, there are red lines, and we have a prior event that occurred in the history of the world where God said, "This is it. That's it. I'm not going to contend with man anymore. My patience has run out." And we know, of course, that ended up being the flood of Noah. So Genesis chapter 6, verse 5 says, "And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually." So the red line was that wickedness was great, and that the thoughts of man's heart was only evil continually. When it's evil continually, and obviously this wasn't every single human being, because Noah was righteous in his time amongst, in comparison to the rest of the people there. So it obviously wasn't, 10 out of 10 people. But most of the people, the vast majority, had evil on their hearts continually. Every imagination all throughout the day. And you see this in Sodom and Gomorrah as well as an indication of how depraved a place can get and the wickedness of being great in that location. Verse 6 says, "And it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And the Lord said, I will destroy man, whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and creeping thing, and fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made them." But, verse 8 says, "But." So this, first you think, well, that applies to every man. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord, and Noah's household as well was spared. So there will be people who are righteous, who are believers, at least in comparison to the rest of the people on earth, that will still be around when the wrath of God is about to fall. But when the wrath of God falls, we are taken out. We are saved. We are taken through. We are in the mezzanine, as Chuck Missler used to say, watching what's happening. So we won't be here for the wrath of God. Just like Noah and his family, they weren't in the wrath of God. They were safe in the ark in Genesis, in the flood. So I think that's where the world is going, and we're going to take a look at that. But let's take a look at this. A lot of interesting things happening here. This one here is from Mornings 247. Historic speech by President of Kenya. What does Kenya have to say about anything? Well, dollar end for Africa. They're getting out of the US dollar. Macron, French President Macron, calls for a meeting with BRICS. Why? Because Macron, he wants to get in with this new world order, this new monetary system. This is taking over the planet. This is an existential threat to the United States. This is why the wars in war in Russia, or Ukraine rather, and the Taiwan issue, this is why those will not stop. This is why the United States has no interest in stopping them. A, because they're making money hand over foot from munitions and supplies and etc., making lots of money, lots of bribes going on. But also because they have to win this war. If they don't, they will not continue to show their dominance. They will not prove on the world stage that they are the world's policemen. And if you do something they don't like, they will take you out. And so this BRICS, this number of countries, is growing. The world is divided in two economic zones. This is incredible, and this is a death blow to the United States as the world reserve currency and the U.S. dollar. So it's going down, folks. And again, this is the reason why there is no interest to get out of the Ukraine war. Has Putin showed any interest to get out of the Ukraine war? Has he wanted to come to the peace table? Yes, he's been willing to. This is ZeroHedge.com. Putin reveals draft treaty on Ukrainian neutrality from March 2022. So back in March 2022, they had this treaty in place, which they were going to come up with some agreement to end the war. Vladimir Putin Saturday met with African leaders in St. Petersburg, and displayed a document that he said was a draft treaty on Ukrainian neutrality that was drawn up during negotiations in Istanbul in March of 2022. So Putin was willing to come up with an agreement. Putin was willing to get to the negotiating table and create peace there in some fashion. Now, neither side is perfect. Putin's not perfect, obviously, and of course, Ukraine certainly isn't perfect. But he was willing to at least talk with them. Is the United States? Do you hear Biden saying, "Let's create peace in Ukraine. We've had enough"? Absolutely not. They might only say that if they're losing the war, if they're absolutely losing the war. But the U.S. has had no interest. They've never said a word about and never put any effort into creating peace in the area. If you know of a significant comment where they have really earnestly been interested in coming to the peace table and coming to discussion, I see far more articles about Putin talking about that and negotiating, and other countries trying to negotiate. China tried to get the countries together, and Russia was on board with that. And who else? Macron, maybe. I think he was interested in coming to the table and bringing Russia and U.S. But you know what? The party that didn't want to come to the table, well, that was the United States, the so-called peacekeeper of the world. The United States wasn't interested in peace because it is an existential threat, and what is happening on the economic side is causing World War III. And often economics, ultimately, when a nation state, a country is in the last death throes of their economy, they will go to war. They have no other option. So that's what's happening here. I won't read this one. So if you've got all the things, you may, you can read that yourself. So did you know that? I think we've been duped. Dr. John Campbell, a nurse in the UK, he did a video just today about the party that the Tories had in the UK during all the lockdowns, and how that was a slap in the face to him. He wasn't able to see his father, who was in the hospital. He had to see his father, I think, through a glass window. Go watch that video today. And who were dancing and partying? Well, all the important people, the elites, the people with money, the people in government. They weren't obeying the same laws they implemented on us, i.e., the lockdown. So I think all around we were duped, folks. There are bits and pieces of truth in there about the solution to all this, but overall we were duped, and I think a lot of people made a lot of money, and that was ultimately the point. I read somewhere, where was it, that Obama had made a deal with Big Pharma as it relates to Obamacare in order to not negotiate on the price of medicines, and this is where it comes out of. The U.S. government has kind of said, you know what, we're all into the pharma, and we're going to push this stuff. So, onwards. Genesis 6, I was talking about. Debased minds and suppression of truth. Romans 1 is being manifested in nearly every community. And this is an article from Harbinger's Daily, Queensland, Australia. God's wrath is not a subject that is on the lips of many people today. What was I just talking about? God's wrath, and that's coming. Genesis chapter 6, folks. We're repeating it today, and history repeats itself, and that's one common saying. But pattern is prophecy as well to the Jews traditionally. And so when you see something happen, and there's a pattern there, sinfulness, wickedness, destruction, sinfulness, wickedness, destruction, i.e., the flood of Noah, Sodom and Gomorrah, and on, all the other examples in the Bible. Well, that's prophecy. Pattern, if you see a pattern of things happening, that's prophetic. That's going to happen in the future. Unfortunately, the article says, as the church has stopped preaching it, the unrepentant have stopped fearing it. Consequently, the majority of people are completely ignorant of it, yet God's wrath is clearly brought into view in Romans 1:18 and 19. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven, against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who suppress the truth in unrighteousness. That almost sounds like censoring, doesn't it? Suppress the truth in unrighteousness. Are we being censored online? The whole idea of free speech? Absolutely. In Ireland, there's a party there that's trying to get rid of free speech again in the name of public health and safety. It's for your own good that we prevent you from saying certain things, and we're going to choose what you're allowed to say and not allowed to say. It's incredible. So who suppress the truth in unrighteousness? Because what may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has shown it to them. Our generation, it goes on, is not the only generation to suppress the truth of God. Since the Garden of Eden, people have been unrighteous and have refused to see the truth of God, both in His Word and the world He created. And I always like this, Romans 1, verse 20, and I'll end on this for this article, because at the end of the day, everybody, nobody will have an excuse. Everybody will stand in front of God, you and I. But those who have rejected God, they will stand in front of God and they will say, I had no excuse. I knew this and I turned away on purpose. The worst of the worst people who reject God, this is what they will say. The perverse, the sinful, the murderers, all of those people will at one time bow their knee in front of God and say, I knew and I chose to turn away. Romans 1:20 says, for since the creation of this world, His invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even His eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. You are not without excuse. If you stand in front of God today, you will have no excuse, whether you believe in God or not, in this lifetime, or whether you did. You will have no excuse at that point in time. You will admit to God that, yes, I knew you were always right and I chose to turn away. And that's going to be an incredible thing. I'm not even sure there will be tears at that time, because the eternality of the situation will just be there. And I just think a lot of people will be stone cold. They will recognize they were wrong all the time. They knew it. And the punishment for that is eternal damnation, eternity in hell. And eternity in hell isn't a place, what do I want to say, designed or created per se. Hell represents a place that is apart from God. So if you live if you are in a place for eternity where there is no God, where God does not exist and no part of Him shines there, that means you have darkness, because God is light. That means there is no love, there is no fun, there is no beauty, there are no good things, there is no kindness. There is just every bad and evil thing that you can think of. So people who think they're going to go partying in hell, no, there is no fun in hell. God brings fun and joy and pleasure to our lives. There is none of that in hell, because it's a place absent of God. So be warned, folks. All right, I will end with this. This is interesting. And the Jewish people are incredible. And it's my opinion, and I think IQ tests kind of back this up in terms of human populations. The Jews are some of the smartest people in terms of IQ in the world, some of the most intelligent people. And they always have the latest technology. Go look at the Nobel Prizes and see how many have been of Jewish descent. Look at all the technology. Your cell phones, for example. I believe it was they were invented in Israel, or at least by Jewish folks, and some of the smartest people. And they are always on the ball. Now, Iran came out and said they have hypersonic missiles, and people in the West have been fretting. Russia has hypersonic missiles. The U.S. was trying to make them, but they kept failing. We have no defense for hypersonic missiles. And isn't it funny? A couple weeks after Iran came out and said they have hypersonic missiles, wouldn't you know it, Raphael out of Israel came out and says, "Yep, good on you, Iran. We have hypersonic defense system." So there you go, and so this is a punch in the face, I think, to Iran. Not only Iran, but also Russia, who thought that their hypersonic weapons were the end all and be all, as well as China. And here you have Israel, the Jewish people again, coming out with some incredible technology, And this has been in the works for a long time. If they're saying they have it, they knew it was coming. They were working on it covertly. I've never heard of this before. And now you see a defense to hypersonic missiles. So no longer an existential threat, and likely this will make its way to the United States in some fashion. But again, incredible minds, incredible inventors there. Israel unveils first ever anti-hypersonic missile defense system. Now there is a video on this page, which is pretty cool, I gotta say. I don't know if I can play this here. I'll see if I can play it. Go backwards. Here it is. That's a SkySonic hypersonic missile interceptor developed by Israeli Defense Technology Company. I'll turn the music off there. Rafael, it's expected to be presented at next week's Paris Air Show, and it seems to consist of a dual-stage rocket of some sort that kind of comes up, tracks the hypersonic missile, and separates the warhead from it, and then that intercepts with the hypersonic incoming missile. So it says the unveiling of Israeli-made SkySonic will be a game changer, since hypersonic missiles are considered to be unstoppable by existing air defenses. The SkySonic air defense system features hit-to-kill technology, intercepting incoming missiles by colliding with them, the U.S. news website Defense Post reported Friday. The interceptor can reportedly neutralize threats traveling 10 times the speed of sound, 10 times the speed of sound, with unmatched precision and stealth. So there you go. Israel always has the upper hand, and again, they have incredible inventors and intelligence in that population for sure. And I think God is on their side, and that's the other part of it. I think God gives them an advantage, and always gives them an advantage in all these things. They're miraculous in many ways in the things that they do. Look at the miraculous 6-day war, for example. Go research that. Look for some YouTube videos on the miraculous things that happened during the 6-day war in Israel. So I'll leave there, guys. Thanks for watching. Interesting. There could be a preemptive strike on Iran, but I think now the timeline for a battle, an overt battle between Iran and Israel is pushed off again, because now Iran doesn't have a delivery system because the hypersonic missile is effectively defeated by this anti-hypersonic missile defense system. So they can't use that anymore. They aren't assured of taking Israel out before Israel gets Iran. So incredible advances there. I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.